Talk TV. You'll see I am not alone in the studio today, which always brings me so much joy. I got several ladies with us with the Mississippi chapter of the Alzheimer's Association, and they're up to some pretty good things. We got Teri, who is the executive director for the Mississippi chapter. We've got Kristen White and Laney McNeer joining her as well. So welcome, ladies.
Welcome. Thanks so much for having us.
I was going to say, it's happy Alzheimer's Awareness Month, but that was September, but nothing like being, just a little behind. I think every day is a good day to raise awareness about Alzheimer's and the good work you guys are doing there at the association. So, Teri, I'm going to start with you. When someone asks about the Alzheimer's Association here in Mississippi, how do you describe what the chapter does or how it helps the greater national organization?
The best way for me to describe is the reason that I came to work for the Alzheimer's Association, and it's the care and support that we provide, the advocacy that we do on behalf of those who are living with dementia or Alzheimer's, the caregiver resources that we provide, the education programs. We are here fighting for the rights of everyone, including the caregivers, respite care bills, getting folks trained. You name it, we've got it, and we're working towards making sure that brain health is a priority for everyone.
Well, you think about, just because someone in your family may be living or managing Alzheimer's, it affects so many more, the ripple effect with that. And so when you're raising awareness, it's important to talk about everyone who may come in, be involved in the caring as well as just in the everyday decision making with someone who's walking through that. Do you know by chance, Teri, like roughly any statistics or numbers with Mississippi, how many families may be living with or helping to care for someone with Alzheimer's or dementia?
Absolutely, and Kristen can answer that as well.
I know there are 57,000 Mississippians who are living with the disease. I want to say the number of caregivers is around 112,000. And so those are just unpaid caregivers, those friends and family members that had to take off work or come in late, quit their jobs to care for someone living with the disease. So it definitely affects the whole family. It's not just one person living with the disease.
So if you feel like you're alone, because it can feel like a very lonely and isolating disease to either walk through or to manage, you're not, obviously. And that's not necessarily supposed to be encouraging because it's not something you want more of. But to knowing that there are other people out there who are walking a daily life, trying to do their best they can. And that's where I know the association does a really good job of trying to create that vacuum of support.
Absolutely. We have caregiver support groups here at our chapter office and across the state. For caregivers to get that support from one another, we have a helpline that's available 24/7 that caregivers can call and get information and resources or just have a care consultation and kind of talk about some things that they're going through. But one of the most things that we hear often is, we heard about you guys too late. And that's something I hate to hear and that's part of the reason we want to spread more awareness, is to let people know they don't have to go through this disease alone.
Laney, it's never too late to reach out for help, is it?
Never too late. And, one of the things that I do in my pillar with the association is I'm the advocacy director along with being the public policy director. And something that gives people a really great chance to get involved is through our advocacy team. Every year during the legislative session, we'll have a day down at the Capitol where we take lots of volunteers and we can meet with our legislators one-on-one and talk with them about what Mississippians need. Mostly caregivers are the ones who need the most support. But if anyone is interested in getting involved with our advocacy team, just reach out to us through our Facebook page and we'll get back with you.
You forget about all the different elements to, I guess, fighting for those that you love that are managing chronic diseases. I mean, Alzheimer's here, obviously, but then others that come to mind. And I often forget about the policy piece, like Laney, where there are things that can be legislatively done or sort of thought through that can make the support easier to get, or just expanding that support. Could you touch on maybe what are some of the things that you guys are hoping to either bring to the attention or push through?
Well, in the last couple of years, we have passed a new dementia-specific respite care program in Mississippi. We're still looking to get some federal funding for that to really get it off the ground. But we'll start with 55 patients with that, and we should be rolling that out within the next year. But that's something that we've been working on. And I think in our next session, we'll be talking a lot about our first responders and getting some additional dementia-specific training involved.
We talk about it's the Alzheimer's Association, but then you're forgetting the word dementia throws into that. And I think people think it is two different things, but then they fall under the same umbrella. So how do you ladies explain that to someone when they're trying to understand the difference, but yet the similarities, and what comes first, chicken or the egg?
So that's a very common question. Probably one of the most common questions I get is what's the difference? And while we are the Alzheimer's Association, our technical name is Alzheimer's and All Other Types of Dementia Association. Of course, that's too much to say, so we just say Alzheimer's Association. But the way I like to compare it to is not apples to apples with cancer, but when you say you have cancer, you ask what type of cancer. So when somebody says you have dementia, what type of dementia? Alzheimer's is just one type of dementia. You have vascular dementia, Lewy body dementia, frontotemporal lobe dementia, and they're finding so many other types. And so Alzheimer's is just one type of dementia.
This sort of falls under that umbrella. And if you have any of those forms of dementia, right, Teri, you can come to the Alzheimer's Association and get help or support in any of the different programs. Because you're right, it kind of, it feels like you do need that big title, but it wouldn't fit on your cards. But that there's still help for anyone that's dealing with a disease in that sort of umbrella.
Absolutely. It's all encompassing. And in Mississippi, we've got to make sure that people realize, you might not realize this, that Mississippi is number one in deaths in the country from Alzheimer's. We've also got unbelievable stats. Hinds County is number 5 per capita in the country. And then there's the one stat that gets me every single time. And I'm not a numbers person. I'm a feelings person. But for some reason, this one really hits home. Alzheimer's kills more people than breast cancer, prostate cancer, and automobile accidents combined every year. So when you start to think about that, you're like, wait a minute. So we worry about getting, the diagnosis that we get. And it's like, okay, so where do you go from here? And that's why it's really important for us to push out this agenda so that folks know this is something that affects everyone. It affects the whole family and disproportionately affects folks in Mississippi. So we got to make sure that people know about the stats in Mississippi.
And not finding out too late. I mean, I know you mentioned like coming to the Alzheimer's Association too late, which you ladies said it's never too late to ask for help, no matter where you're at. But I also would say don't wait till it's too late. If you know or have family history or just have like the red flags, like the sooner you can be informed about your own health or future health, potential health, then the better you're going to be. Am I right with that?
Absolutely. The sooner you get a diagnosis, you have more time to plan for the future. You also have access to clinical trials and medications. There's medications on the market right now that help address the symptoms. They can kind of mask the symptoms for a little while. However, the very first medication got full FDA approval back in July that actually slows down the progression of the disease. However, you have to be in the very early stages of the disease. So that early detection is very important. But when we talk about good things, that is one good thing that is happening in the Alzheimer's arena right now is the advances in the research.
And I would say too, then the good thing also is don't be in denial, because I know how you specifically you men listening to good things are. You don't want to think about it. You want to push it off. You want to not go to the doctor. You don't want to listen to your wives. And then you women, you just want to, keep pushing yourself to the back burner. You're taking care of everybody else. You'll wait till next year. You'll go next go around. And it's like, no, like we need to be on top of it now.
Yeah, and it's hard because sometimes people just brush it off as normal aging. We're working with the Department of Health right now on a campaign called Know Where Alzheimer's Hides, and it's a public health awareness campaign about the warning signs of the disease and how they can kind of just sneak in there and sometimes be brushed off as normal aging. And so trying to let people know what to be on the lookout for.
What will some of those be?
Obviously, loss of recently learned information. So, but that's something that affects your normal daily living.
Me.
We're all a little forgetful.
Sleepless mom too. I know, but that's the thing. Like, you may brush it off, but
and some other things are, things that you've done your entire life, and then all of a sudden having trouble, whether that be cooking a familiar recipe or driving to your home or your grocery store that you've driven your entire life, and then all of a sudden you get lost. Those are big red flags that could be dementia.
Well, you guys don't get lost on your station. We've got more with the ladies with the Alzheimer's Association coming up next. We're continuing our conversations with the ladies from the Mississippi chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. And Kristen, you were giving us a great kind of rundown of some of those red flags to look for in terms of developing not just Alzheimer's, but also dementia. I would think any of those would sort of fall into that. And I think folks are like, okay, I get it. I start to miss things. But let's back up from that. Like, people want to modify their risk, Teri. Folks don't want to, go one more day with doing anything that may set the stage for them developing down the road. From the Alzheimer's Association's perspective, what are some of those things we can control? Because to some degree you can't control it, but then there are some things you can.
There are modifiable risk factors, and everybody should know these. We have this amazing education program that is 10 Ways to Love Your Brain, and we've got a one sheet that's on our website. By the way, let me throw it out there, alz.org, that talks about 10 ways to love your brain. And there's some basic things, of course, nutrition and getting up and moving. We all know, just get up out of your chair, move. If you can move that blood through into your brain, it's good for you. If it's good for your heart, it's good for your brain. There's things like that. And then there's a lot of other ways. Being social, getting out of the house, doing things that make you work your brain. Kristen, we've got so many different modifiable risk factors that we try to teach people about, and it's not anything that's super heavy lifting.
No,
it's really not. It's things that we've talked about our entire lives. When she talked about heart health, we all know what we need to do to be heart healthy. Get some exercise, do some cardiovascular activity, eat a healthy diet. But we know now that those things really do make a difference. Mississippi is highest on the prevalence and death rate because we have high prevalence of diabetes and high blood pressure, and those things increase your risk. So anything you can do to decrease those numbers will lead to a decreased risk of Alzheimer's.
Which I think is something we all should hear over and over and over again. So even if you haven't gone to get screened, and I'm not even sure if there are screenings yet that is really available for everybody for Alzheimer's or dementia, but you can know your blood pressure. You can find that out at just about any local pharmacy, or, going for your wellness visits, and, keeping that in check is kind of that first line of defense for just about everything else. Another way of learning more and talking about getting out and moving is maybe getting out to enjoy the walk. I know you guys have great fundraisers because it's not cheap doing all the policy work as well as community work that you guys do. So you have your fundraisers for that and your events. So tell me about the walk.
The biggest one in the state of Mississippi is coming up next Saturday on October 14th. And yes, we did you a favor by choosing a day that two of our SEC teams here in the state of Mississippi have a bye week.
You did that on purpose, didn't you?
We absolutely did that on purpose. It happens to be JSU homecoming, but we start nice and early, so we'll get a lot of folks out there. October 14th, we will be doing the Walk to End Alzheimer's. 630 of these happen across the country. The biggest one in the state happens right here. We're looking for upwards of 600 people in one place. It's celebratory. It is absolutely amazing. We cry, we laugh, we have a blast. We've got a steel band coming in, so we're going to have this fantastic little island flair. We've got cheerleaders, and we have a chance for people to share their stories. We have a chance for people to gather together to do just what we're talking about socially. We're also going to walk. We're going to do so many different things, and the way for you to be a part of it is really simple. alz.org/walk, and then search for Mississippi, and you'll find our walk. We are looking to raise $200,000 this year, which will go a long way. It will break records. And I promise you, if you ever go to a Walk to End Alzheimer's, you will be there every single year. You can't help but go back. It's that moving.
And don't wait until the person in your life that's managing Alzheimer's, transitions, because this is a time to recognize that you're not alone, to fellowship with people who are going through like-minded waters, but not the same, because I know every diagnosis is different. Every situation is sort of set up different. But I feel like so many times people just hold back or reserve instead of one thing cancer does better. They bring everybody who is actively managing it or living through it better together more than I think some other diseases do. So we need to get people out of your homes and get out and just recognize that you're not alone, I think is the main part. And there's support out there for you.
Absolutely. And at the walk, there will be vendors and community resources there that they can learn about to find resources. And another resource that we have is our caregiver conference coming up in November. It is virtual, but it will be 8 different sessions on behavior, how to handle some of the behaviors on the disease, on communications, on activities to do with someone with the disease. And so that is a free conference. And so you can find that out on our website at alz.org/ms as well.
And if you are a caregiver listening and maybe you're struggling, so Teri, I know that's a hard thing to do to say out loud would be, I'm a caregiver and I'm exhausted, or I maybe, there's not always good days. And I know this is good things, but I think really speaking to the fact that you can be seen and validated in your exhaustion of giving care to someone that you love that's battling something that, just seems to have stolen them away. What would be your plea for them to reach out, to get connected? Don't just fly under the radar.
Well, as being someone who was a caregiver, I lost my mom a year ago today to Alzheimer's, and you do feel absolutely alone. Even with a house full of people who are there to help take care of mom, grandma, your uncle, your father, your brother, whomever it happens to be, you feel 100% isolated. And that is not the case. We're here for you. You can give us a call. I have people, my personal mobile number is on all of the Alzheimer's Association websites, and I do get calls from people. And it's really just they need someone to listen. There is so many things for you to do physically, but it's really hard for you to handle the mental aspect of it. And that is one thing that the Alzheimer's Association and Kristen's department with care and support does amazingly well, providing you with information, providing you with education so that you feel like, oh my gosh, what I'm doing is making a difference. Once I went through that communications training, once I went through the behaviors training, because my mom wasn't one of those who was the sweet little old lady that forgot things. She had those behaviors that we had to modify. Once I had gone through those, the relationship I had with my mother exponentially became better almost immediately. I could communicate with her better. I knew how to take care of that behavior. I knew when it was a behavior I needed to bring someone else in for. So being able to find those resources, call us, find our website. We will help you. And that is part of being a caregiver. The best caregiver you can be is the kind that reaches out for help and then also takes care of yourself. You are exhausted.
And you're important. You're an important piece of this, even though it's not you managing the disease. You have worth and value too with your own health and sort of taking care of yourself. And then the bigger picture, Laney, in terms of like policy, or because we often think we can't really impact that we really that's what y'all do, right? Like, or those at the Capitol. I know it's not session yet. Thank goodness, right? It's got you got a little bit, but how could people at least get more involved if they wanted to in what's going to be going on, or what you guys are looking forward to, or looking to push or to talk about?
We will have an advocacy tent at our walk next weekend on the 14th in Ridgeland at Holmes Community College. But also, if you just reach out to us on our Facebook page, and they'll direct you to me, send you my email address, and I would love to get you involved. Like I said, our day at the Capitol won't be until probably late February, but we would love to have more volunteers there that day. And you don't have to meet one-on-one with your legislators. There are lots of things our volunteers do. Just send out emails to our congressmen, or you don't have to meet one-on-one. It's not as intimidating as it sounds, but to have a group there and show up, it really means a lot for our legislators to see how many people are going through this and to hear the voice of the caregivers and the patients and what they need.
Because the numbers are staggering. How many Mississippian caregivers did you say?
113.
113,000 unpaid. So that doesn't count the folks that work in the medical profession that are also helping caregive for our loved ones who are living with dementia or Alzheimer's.
So that's 100,000+ folks that should come out and walk on Saturday and come out and get connected. If we want to, do you have to have a team? Do you have to be signed up? Or can we just show up and enjoy Saturday? What are the logistics on that?
It's really simple. We are one of the very few walks that charges nothing to register. You don't pay a certain amount and then get a free t-shirt. That's not how it works. We want access for everyone. You do have to be registered. It's really simple. If you want to register, you can go to alz.org/walk, or you can come out that day. We'll register you on site. You can register as a team. You can register as an individual. Of course, we ask everyone to do some fundraising, but you don't have to be a part of our walk. We have people living with dementia at our walk. We have caregivers who just don't have the funds in which to do it. And then they ask one person and they end up raising $7,000. And that happens on a regular basis. The main thing is getting the word out, learning about it, taking advantage of the resources that we have on site, and becoming a part of the community that we are here as caregivers.
Because it's something that we're all going to face at some point in time, whether it's ourselves or a loved one or a friend. It's here. It's in our communities, and we need to be more fellowship about it. it and bring it out. So thank you all for your time today. And you guys stick with us. We got more for you coming up next.
Thank you.